If your doctor told you that nerve damage is permanent and irreversible, know that it's okay if they were wrong. Recent studies show that damaged nerves can regenerate, and I'm going to share the exact 7-step protocol that's backed by science that's helping people improve their peripheral neuropathy issues. No medications, no side effects, just science-based nutrition, which is really my jam. I'm nutrition author T.C. Hale, and I've been teaching health professionals in more than 40 countries how to help their clients fix the actual underlying causes of problems instead of just covering up the symptoms. Today we're going to tackle peripheral neuropathy, all that tingling and numb and burning and why can't I sleep because my feet are on fire kind of situation. And we're going to go over 4 specific nutrients that have clinically shown to create improvement for these neuropathy issues. We're going to go over some dietary changes that can actually stop the cause of this nerve damage at the root. We're going to talk about some hidden toxins that are probably in your diet really magnifying this problem. And steps number 6 or 7, if you don't handle these issues, none of this other stuff that I talk about is really going to help, which helps us understand why so many people don't see results when they take some of these steps, or they use I'm going to use a cream or soak in this bath, and we really want to tackle the underlying causes. So remember, we're looking at these nerves that have these electrical currents travel through them, and they have this protected insulated coating on them called these myelin sheaths. But if these myelin sheath coatings get damaged or they don't regenerate and rebuild, now those signals aren't traveling correctly or they're irritating tissues around those nerves. Just like if you would plug in your toaster and take that insulated coating off the cord, if you grab that, that's really going to irritate you, right? You're going to become the toast. So it makes sense why these symptoms are coming up. Now, we're not going to go over all of the science of the underlying causes of this in this video. If you haven't seen it already, at the end I'll point you to our video on 7 surprising causes of peripheral neuropathy. And it's important to kind of understand why this happens. That's really going to help you fix the problem by understanding the things that are creating it. But since we're just going over the protocol here, let's jump into step number 1, which is supplementing with alpha lipoic acid. Now, this is really helpful because it's a powerful antioxidant, but also helps with that microcirculation. Remember that the body has this circulation that's really important because it's carrying nutrients and things to different areas to help the body regenerate itself. So a landmark ALADIN study showed that people using this for just like 2 to 4 weeks showed remarkable improvement. And they were using like 600 milligrams per day away from food on an empty stomach. Now, keep in mind that I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice or telling you what type of amount of any supplement to take. I'm just sharing what I found in these studies, and I'm going to be sure to link all of these studies in the description below so that you can dig into them a little bit more and also share them with your doctor so you know the right questions to ask your doctor. And ALA is great, but it's even more powerful when it's combined with step 2, which is vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is one of the building blocks to rebuild these structures like nerves and all the coatings that go around them. And vitamin B12 deficiency is viewed as one of the most common causes for this peripheral neuropathy, just because the body doesn't have those building blocks to rebuild those structures that protect those nerves. I'll link a study below that showed that 1,500 micrograms of B12 per day showed good results, but they also said that it was important to use the methylcobalamin form, not the synthetic cyanocobalamin form. You really want something that can be absorbed a lot easier by the body. But I don't want you to view this like this is just the missing piece and you just give the body B12 and then it regenerates all these myelin sheath things. That's not how the body works. You're not playing with Legos. This isn't the final missing piece of the giant Chewbacca head that you're making. The body is a little bit more complicated than that. There's a lot of other cofactors that are needed we're going to talk about in some of these other steps. I just don't want you to view the body like it's an overpriced Lego set that cost as much as your Toyota Camry. It's a little more complicated than that. And this idea becomes important when we talk about step number 3, which is supplementing with benfotiamine. Now, this is a form of thiamine or vitamin B1, but this form happens to be like 5 times more effective at crossing that cell membrane, so it's a lot easier for the body to absorb and utilize it. So it's important to use this form, and most of the studies talked about using between like 300 and 600 milligrams per day. And this is a fat-soluble B vitamin, so it's important to take it with a meal that contains some healthy fats. that will help you absorb it better. Now, the big benefit here is that it has the ability to kind of block some of those pathways that can cause damage from high sugar. We talked in that other video about when sugar is too high, those sugars can kind of stick to the proteins on the side of those myelin sheath walls, and then it changes the structure of those proteins. They become what's called glycated. And then your immune cells see that and are like, oh, we shouldn't have a glycated protein here. I'm going to engulf that and take care of that. And as it's eating those up, it damages that myelin sheath as well. So when we can block this pathway, that reduces some of that damage. Now, it's not totally going to fix it. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But this particular supplement can be very beneficial in this regard. And as helpful as this can be, keep in mind that this is just part of a bigger B vitamin strategy, which is why step number 4 is to take a high-potency B complex vitamin. Now, usually just one of these capsules per day is going to be enough, but it's important to cover all of these cofactors that go with the B vitamins. If somebody's just going to take one, isolated form of a B vitamin like B12 or even, benfotiamine, we really want all of those other cofactors that the body needs to kind of use them correctly. So taking some B complex can be very important. You just want to use a high potency form that has methylated B vitamins in there. That makes it really a lot more effective. Now, step number 5 is where most people, not all, but most people are going to see their most significant improvement. And it's bringing down the blood sugar. It's using a low-carb diet. Remember, all of these higher sugars are changing the protein structures on those myelin sheath coatings around your nerves. And then your immune system is coming and engulfing that and damaging that coating in the process. Now, if there's no coating there, why wouldn't you have discomfort? Isn't it fun when things actually make sense? So we have to bring those sugars down. If you were swimming in a pool of pie all day and just eating the pie as you swam, you understand that would create some problems for me. So why wouldn't that create problems for yourselves? They're bathing in all this high sugar all day, every day. We have to bring that down. So the way to do that is to consume less than 50 carbs per day. You want to do a low-carb diet, and the carbs that you do consume want to come from real food sources. That means you need to lose the processed junk, you need to lose the sugar, you need to lose the soda. The liquid sugars are the worst, and especially the alcohol. You have to lose the alcohol too. Now, a lot of you are not going to like me when I tell you this. I don't care. I don't care if you like me. I want you to fix this. If you feel better, you'll accidentally like me. Ah, man, I'm so mad about how I liked that punk kid. He told me that I couldn't have my Nutter Butters anymore. But this is what's going on. This is what's causing it, so it has to be stopped. When you can reduce your carbs, now those sugars come down and all that damage is not occurring. The B vitamins and these other steps aren't going to be enough to overpower the damage. It's like standing in front of a locomotive with a hammer and thinking you're going to stop it. A hammer's a great tool, but you're not going to stop a locomotive. We got to bring the carbs down. Now, if you've tried this and it's been too difficult, I'm going to help you understand why when we look at step number 6, which is to fix any nutrient deficiencies and any digestive symptoms. Here's the thing that goes on with a lot of people. Maybe they don't have high blood sugar, but the body doesn't have the nutrients and resources it needs to rebuild those myelin sheath structures. If the body doesn't have any building blocks, how is it going to repair and rebuild those? So that's why these things like B12 are so important, because we have to bring those nutrients in. But there's a lot of other cofactors that are needed, remember. So to fix nutrient deficiencies in most cases, it's about fixing digestive malfunctions. Some of these studies below show that low stomach acid and hypochlorhydria and long-term PPI use or proton pump inhibitor acid reflux medications that turn off stomach acid, all of these are tied to B12 deficiencies that can create this situation because you're removing your body's ability to have the resources it needs to rebuild and repair things. And remember, we need our bile flowing correctly to be able to assimilate fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin B1. So any digestive symptoms at all, they have to be repaired and fixed so that you can get nutrients out of the food that you're eating. If you don't know how to do this, you can watch any of our videos. I can't shut up about fixing digestive things, but we'll put a link in the description below for our video on full digestive reset that'll really walk you through how to do that. And we'll put a link to our totally free digestion course that can kind of walk you through those steps as well, figuring out which aspects of digestion are not working for you and steps you can take to improve those. A lot of these studies talk about how you can't access B12 without enough stomach acid. So that helps us understand why these missing nutrients are such a problem. Now, step number 7 is to avoid all seed oils and things that can cause these advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, like we were talking about. So seed oils are really inflammatory, and we're talking about all of this corn oil and soy oil and all these things that you buy as vegetable oil or that restaurants are cooking with. That means when you're eating at a restaurant, you got to ask, what are you cooking it? You want to cook in oils like butter or coconut oil, and maybe use some good fats like olive oil on your salad and such. Those fats are good. When you're using seed oils, they're really magnifying all of that inflammation that's going on. And we really want to avoid the foods that contain both protein, fats, and sugars together. That really magnifies the ability to create that glycation problem. So, things like ice cream and, barbecued meat and meat that's seared on a grill that's got blackened stuff on it. All those things really magnify all those things. So bringing down the sugar is the biggest part, but when you're eating things that combine both sugar and proteins with fats, those are really going to magnify the problem. So foods like deep fried sources of protein and such are going to be really big problems. So let's kind of review what we looked at. We looked at supplementing with alpha lipoic acid and B12 and benfotiamine or thiamine, vitamin B1, that good source of B1. We talked about using a B complex every day, reducing carbohydrates down below 50. But we also talked about improving these nutrient deficiencies and fixing any digestive issues. And by fixing digestive issues, it allows a person to succeed on a low-carb diet. People that fail on a low-carb diet have trouble breaking down proteins or processing fats correctly, so they feel lousy when they eat real food. I feel better when I eat a toast or pastry. So they can't sustain a low-carb diet. But if you fix these digestive malfunctions, then you can do it. Then it becomes a thing, just removing all these seed oils from your diet and avoiding these foods that combine sugars, proteins, and fats so we can reduce all that glycated damage that's occurring. And the most important thing to understand is that you can do this. When you improve these malfunctions that make these changes hard, it becomes a whole lot easier. Your neighbor doesn't have these symptoms. You deserve not to have these symptoms too. He's a jerk. He doesn't even mow his lawn. He's got a boat in the front yard. You deserve to see improvement here. So if you haven't seen that video before about the science about why this happens, understanding that is going to help you. You can jump over now and check out that video on 7 surprising causes for peripheral neuropathy. And if you have seen that, jump over now and dig into that video on full digestive reset so you can start improving any digestive malfunctions and making this whole thing a lot easier. I can't wait to hear about your results.